Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day 476. Friday, fun Friday. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. Love the comment section. Best comment section on YouTube. I have to take issue with my good friend H.A. Goodman. He's got a good comment section, but mine is better. A lot of people I see that comment in my comment section, I also see commenting on H.A.'s site. So, we have a lot of the same subs, and that's cool. He's got a lot more subs than I do, but he does a great job over there, and it's good to see. I've watched this progression of H.A. Goodman. I remember I first started watching videos of his back early during the primary process back in 2016. I guess it was around February or March. I stumbled onto H.A., and he was a big Bernie supporter at the time, but on a lot of things I agreed with him, but I thought, he's a commie and he's on the side of Bernie or whatever. But, got to hand it to H.A. once he realized that Bernie was, well, I don't think he thinks Bernie's a fraud, but he thinks that Bernie simply didn't fight. And I think that's what upset H.A. is that once Bernie had been cheated, he caved in, endorsed Clinton, took the money, did whatever, and he quit fighting. And so I think that's what happened with H.A. But, he's moved from being pretty much a leftist to being, endorsing Trump in 2020. And is now he's, got his concealed carry license, and he's shooting guns. So it's been interesting to watch the transformation of my good friend H.A. Goodman. He's a good guy, and he's a really, really talented YouTuber. I think one of the best. So anyway, yeah, it's cool. Now let's get to these hearings. I'm sure a lot of you have already had a chance to watch some of the YouTube videos of the various questioners of Rodentstein and Nos Sherlock Ray, director of the Federal Bureau of I'm With Her. So I have written down some things here of my observations. First of all, we've been hearing a lot about this really, really bad temper that Rodentstein has. And I think if anyone watched the questioning of Jim Jordan or Louis Gohmert with Rodentstein, we saw that, anger. We saw that attitude of Rodentstein. You could really see. Of course, he was in a public hearing, so he was really trying hard to control himself, but you could definitely see when he was triggered, and it was almost like Jordan and a couple other guys were trying to push Rodentstein to force him to go into unhinged mode, and they came very, very close to having him completely melt down. Certainly, we saw that anger that we've been hearing about Rodentstein, that a lot of people have been talking about, people who've been in these meetings with him, who've reported back to Greg Jarrett, Sarah Carter, and other people have talked about, the fact that he did make these threats. He's got a really bad temper and all these things. So I think we saw quite a bit of that showing through, specifically in the questioning by Jim Jordan, who did a fantastic job, and also by Louis Gohmert, and a couple other guys did a pretty good job too. Trey Gowdy really didn't ask any questions. He just made a statement, but it was a pretty powerful statement, and basically telling Rodentstein to get a handle on the Mueller investigation and wrap the damn thing up. Wrap it the hell up, I think he said. So you can see he's clearly frustrated. And you can definitely see that there's some bad blood there between some of these guys and Rodentstein. You could kind of sense the intensity in the questioning of Rodentstein, and some of these guys have had to deal with him one-on-one. And he lied through the whole part, by the way. Rodentstein's lies, just like Wray, they either say, oh, I can't comment on that, it's an ongoing investigation. But then when you ask them about it, they can't tell you. Okay, so there's an investigation going on. Oh, I can't comment. What a convenient way to hide behind the bureaucratic wall. Claim that you can't comment on something because it's an ongoing investigation, but then when you're asked about, even the most general way about what investigation are you referring to, oh, I can't tell you. All these investigations apparently going on. He can't comment on any of them. We don't know what they're about or anything else. Very convenient sort of way to hide behind the bureaucracy. So a lot of the time Rodentstein would say, or Wray, both of them would do the same, well, it's an ongoing investigation, so I can't comment. Another thing they would say is, well, I wasn't here when all that went on, so I can't tell you what happened. Another thing Rodentstein would say is, well, I'm not the guy doing all the redactions. I'm not the guy that's getting all these documents. I'm the head, of all these people, but I'm not responsible. So he also says that as well. He talks about things, well, that's classified. We can't talk about it in an open setting. But then when they get into a closed setting, he won't give them the information either. So you can see that it's just a continued stonewalling process that never ends. We also, I think, what was the next thing? Let's see. Another big thing that we saw was that Jordan actually got Rodentstein to admit that he did not read the FISA warrant. He did not read the application. Jordan pressed him on that, and he said, okay, Mr. Rodentstein, you signed off on the fourth FISA warrant, correct? And he kind of hem-hawed around about that. Eventually, kind of halfway admitted, yeah, he signed off. Was forced to admit that because Jim Jordan wouldn't let him off the hook. And then he said, and then basically Jordan got Rodentstein to basically admit that he did not read it. And Rodentstein's reason was, well, we have these 4 FISA court judges, and they had looked at the stuff before, and it has to go through this process. And he does the same thing all bureaucrats do. They present to you like there's this incredible system in place which safeguards from any abuse or any bad behavior or criminal behavior or anything like that. It's a pristine system. We have to trust in the system. We have to trust in these FISA court judges, even though we don't know who they are. We don't know what they're all about. We have to trust in all these people that are behind the curtain. We can't see them. We just have to trust the fact that once they take that oath and they become an FBI agent or an official at the DOJ or a FISA court justice, all of a sudden they become ordained. They are pure as the wind-driven snow. They are without sin. They have been born again. They are Christ-like figures, incapable of error and incapable of the human failings that we all know exist. Incapable of oversight, can't be questioned, nothing like that. They are pristine beings. They exist on a different plane than the rest of us. We can no longer question them. Bullshit! Bullshit! They put their pants on the same way you and I do. They are fallible just like you and I are. They are not above scrutiny, and we do need to get to know who they are and what they did. In this particular case, this is not an ordinary case. And this is not about, the Russia investigation. This is about a frame-up. This is about a group of individuals in the previous administration who exonerated a felon, the rotten Reverend Clinton, and at the same time pursued a fraudulent investigation which was based on a frame-up. So this is not an ordinary situation. And these people are not above being questioned. But Jordan did get Rodentstein to admit that he did not read the application on the FISA. Well, the people before me went through all these processes, so there was really no need for me to go through all this. And that's basically what he said. So they got him red-handed. And hopefully I.G. Horowitz was paying attention, because the next thing that we're going to get from Horowitz, God knows when that'll happen, could be 3 years from now, I don't know, but the next thing that we'll get from Horowitz is his investigation into those FISA warrants. So we'll be interested to see what happens there, but again, I mean, it's it's an inside investigation job. Horowitz, probably a decent guy, but he is part of the DOJ. He's doing an investigation of himself, essentially. It's not going to fly. There needs to be special counsel, a presidential commission, something independent, something outside the DOJ and FBI. I think we're going to get there. And I think this is all the process by how we do get there. And I was observing Christopher Nos Sherlock Ray, and I've noticed this throughout all these hearings. And I don't know if this is just me or if you guys have picked up on this, but he almost has this real nonchalant attitude, and it might just be his personality. I mean, he's from California, whatever. He's a laid-back guy. I don't know. But, he's got this attitude like he doesn't really want to be there. This is all very boring. Nothing's going to come out of it. He's going to protect the deep state. He is protected by the deep state. He is, He's dreaming about what he's going to be doing tomorrow. The next day, his mind's not even there. He doesn't seem to be particularly concerned. You ask him, oh yeah, I'm very concerned about what happened, and I'm taking action, and blah 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 blah. Yet the whole time he's along with Rodentstein and all the rest, blocking us from getting the truth about what happened. And they continue to play on this narrative, which is a false narrative. But I just get the impression that No Shit Sherlock Ray is disinterested. You just, I guess if I could see No Shit Sherlock Ray get impassioned about something and step up to the microphone and say, yeah, man, I gotta tell you, head of the FBI, been part of this for a long time. Well, he was in the DOJ, never in the FBI. If he would just have some passion, if he would just give me some reason to believe he's really bothered by what happened, if he would give me some reason to believe that he's really pissed about all this stuff that went on and he's going to hold these people accountable, and that doesn't mean sensitivity training. No, not sensitivity training. No, I mean people being fired, people going to jail. These were criminal acts. This was obstruction. This was trying to frame a president, trying to frame a presidential candidate. I mean, layers and layers of obstruction, many, many crimes. Yet Ray wants to pretend like this was just a sort of a, no big deal. Oh, I'm here. You got questions? Yeah. Oh, I can't answer that. It's classified. Oh, I can't answer that. It's an ongoing investigation. Oh, I can't answer that. I wouldn't know. I wasn't here. Oh, I don't know. These guys don't know shit. They don't know shit about shit. Yet, they tell us on one hand, I'm in charge. I'm the head of this operation. I'm the top guy. I'm running this show. But then, when they have to actually answer for the lack of production of documents and witnesses, then, that's I'm just the head here. It's other people that make those decisions on documents and producing documents and getting one. I'm just sitting back here watching it all go by. So it's just this constant back and forth. At one point they're in charge, at the next point they're not. They are responsible, and then they're not responsible. And I just would feel much better about Christopher Wray if he would just give me any indication at all that he is even mildly upset about what happened. And if I could actually see things happening, if I actually see, I mean, McCabe has never been charged yet. He's not been charged. And all these other people, So it's hard for me to believe Christopher No Shit Sherlock Ray when he's telling me, oh yeah, I'm upset, man, and I really want to go after these guys, and we want to clean it up, and find out who did wrong, and blah, 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 blah. But then nothing actually happens. He doesn't produce. And the average American is just sitting back looking at this going, this is bullshit. Because if it was anyone else, and we see what's happening, I'm going to go after Manafort, go after Cohen, they're going after Papadopoulos, they're going after all these people. But when it's the Rotten Reverend and all her people, and the FBI and the DOJ and all those people, and all the crimes that they committed, and all the documents that they're withholding, and all the witnesses they won't let testify, and all these other things, they just want to whitewash it all away. And it's not working. It's not working. So yeah, Christopher No Shit Sherlock Ray just to me acts like he doesn't care. He's disinterested. It's troubling. And Rodentstein acts like he's above being questioned. He's not. He acts like the FISA court. Well, that's the FISA court. Oh, the FISA court, yeah. They're not above being questioned either. They're just people who put on robes. And apparently, 4 of them signed off on FISA warrants based on this dossier. Now, one of the two things is happening here. Either we had crooked FISA court judges who knowingly signed off on evidence that was bullshit, or they didn't know and they got lied to, in which case they themselves should have called back these individuals and held them in contempt. They should have come forward. They should have gone to the DOJ and said, hey, we were lied to by your people in the FBI and the DOJ. We were lied to. And you better take action or we will. But you don't see that, do you? Yes, they hide behind the bureaucracy. That's what they always do. And they got into the issue, again, we saw with these informants, and again, talking about these informants, and this is something that they're really going to have to drill down on in the future, and not let Rodentstein and Wray off the hook when they're talking about these types of things, these informants. Again, it's this how we define informant. I mean, informant, spy, agent provocateur. I mean, we need to get real serious about how we define these things and about what informants actually do. These individuals who were approaching Trump campaign officials, low-level campaign officials, were coming to Trump's people on 7 separate occasions. 7 separate occasions, individuals with connections to the intelligence agency and the FBI were going to Trump people and trying to entrap them. This is not what informants do in an investigation. They don't, you know, that's not what we're talking about here. There's something different. But they continue to blur that line and muddy that water. And it's going to have to be made crystal clear. And I understand that you can't get ahead of the investigation. But the investigation can't move forward until they get to documents. So I understand the frustration and why members of Congress have to approach this the way that they are approaching it. But, you know, again, I was hoping my favorite question would be asked, and it wasn't. I wish I was on that panel. I would have looked directly at Rodentstein and Ray. My first question to both of them: tell me everything you know about the 6 agency task force. That is where it is, my friends. And they know it, and Trump knows it, and Nunes knows it. They know that this that the basis for all this began with the intelligence agencies, not the FBI. And I think they know that, but they need to get there. That's why they need to get all the stuff from the FBI so that they can say, okay, so we've basically determined this was the FBI role. Okay, so now we know this is everything that happened with the FBI, and we know that these other things are going on. Then where was this other stuff coming from? It can only be that it came from someone like the CIA. And then you go to work there, and that's going to be even tougher because they don't keep a lot of documents, and they don't say a whole lot. So that's going to be even tougher, but we will get there. Trump knows it because he's been tweeting out in the last couple tweets he's done. He's referred to intelligence, that these people came from intelligence. So he knows, and I think Nunes and Jordan and these guys know as well. They just are having to work through this the way you work through an investigation. You can't get ahead of your investigation. You can't get ahead of your evidence because you can get tripped up and blow your entire investigation. I understand that. But I still would ask the question. Yeah. The problem I have is that with this whole thing, it's the narrative. It's the narrative. When you see these groups get together, when you see Rodentstein and Ray facing off against, you know, Jordan and Gates and Gohmert and Goodlatte and all these guys, we're working from 2 different narratives. The Rodentstein and Ray and the deep state are on a narrative, oh, this is all about us investigating the Russians interfering in our elections. Despite the fact that they've never gone back to the root of when all that began, which for the most part we're talking about the hacking or leaking of the DNC emails, the Podesta emails to WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks releases them, all this. Until they go back and begin at square one and determine whether or not that was even the case, did that actually happen, and start from right there. Until they do that, this whole thing, to me, it will never be taken into the proper context. So on one side, you have Rodentstein and Ray and the deep state, and the Democrats and the media and all them. They want to continue, oh, this is an investigation about finding out about Trump and people around Trump and having ties to Russians, and were they working with the Russians to fix the election? This is all bullshit and everybody knows it. But it is the narrative that everything is playing out in. And so what I believe really has to happen is we really have to have a narrative change so that when we're having these hearings and then when we're talking about this stuff, that it is crystal clear what we are talking about, that we are not talking about. We're not here today to talk to you, Mr. Rodentstein and Mr. Ray, about this Russia investigation and all that. We know all about that. It's been going on for 2 years. Mueller's been at it for 1.5 years. It's been going on for a very long time. No. The narrative that we want to talk about is, was there a plan to exonerate the Right Reverend Clinton, and was there a plot to frame Trump and people in his campaign? That is the narrative, and that is where they need to get people focused and get their mind focused, so that when you're asking these questions and when you're delving into this and trying to get this information, yeah, if you're trying to get all these documents and you're trying to get all witnesses and you're trying to get all this, and it's based on, looking into the investigation of how Russia meddled in the election or whatever, that's a completely different context. And then if you're looking at documents or witnesses, you're going to base your decision on that. But if in fact the narrative is, we believe that the DOJ, the FBI, the State Department, various agencies, the Obama administration, the intelligence agencies were involved in a plot to exonerate Hillary and frame Trump, now we have a completely different, totally different context to work from. And then the request of these documents and these witnesses becomes totally valid. Totally valid. Because the investigation at this point, and where we need to make sure that these questions are asked from the context of, we are investigating you, Mr. Rodentstein, and you, Mr. Wray, and your agencies, as well as the intelligence agencies, the State Department, and all of those in the previous administration who may have plotted to exonerate the rotten Reverend Clinton and frame Trump or people in his campaign. That is what this is about. This is about finding out what went down there. This is not about the investigation into Russia meddling in the elections. Uncle Bob's supposedly handling all that, right? So I think that they really need to do a better job, and I understand it's tough, but they need to do a better job of making sure that when these hearings go down, or when we're having these conversations, that we put it into the right context. And I understand that when you do that, without having the actual evidence, when all you have is circumstantial evidence or just a way that you see things, that you are setting yourself up to be called, oh, the Spygate guy, that's a conspiracy theory. And that's what they'll do. They'll say, oh, you're questioning, the FBI and, the DOJ and the intel community, running a frame-up, exonerating Hillary. It's a big conspiracy theory. It's a Spygate conspiracy theory plot. Oh, you guys are tinfoil hat wearing crazy people. See, and I understand that they know that that's how that this is going to be spun by the media and everyone else, and they don't want to get put into that box. I understand that. But, I think they have ample evidence to back it. And it would explain why they're trying so hard to not produce the evidence. Because if there was no wrongdoing, if they had nothing to hide, they would simply produce all the documents. Congress would look at them and give the all clearance. Okay, everything was on the up and up. We understand what happened. It's all good. It's over. And all this would come to an end. But probably the biggest thing that I learned from the hearings today is that Rodentstein made it perfectly clear when they got into this issue of the informants or whatever. Rodentstein made it perfectly clear. He's saying basically, go ahead and impeach me. I'm not resigning. Now, he may end up being forced to because of political pressure. He may be fired or whatever. But as far as Rodentstein's concerned, he ain't coming off of that information. He's not going to give you the name of the informants. He's not going to confirm their names. We already pretty much know them. He's not going to confirm then how much they were paid, who they were working for, what they were doing, when they were doing it, when it started, and all this other thing. Not going to come off that information at all. He stated right there in hearings today, he is prepared. He said, I guess, you have to go to court. So Rodentstein's perfectly prepared to go through the legal process to see if judges will force him to turn over this information. Because he knows that by the time all that happens, we'll be probably past the midterms. The judge won't even be hearing that case for probably 9 months to a year. By which time, a lot of people have forgotten. Other things have happened. People move on. And this is all they're trying to do, is run the clock out. And it's very obvious. And that's what's frustrating the hell out of people. That's why they have to get busy and change the narrative. They have to come out in full force with enough members to say, look, here's what we think happened. Let's be perfectly clear about what we think happened and what this is. This is not about Trump-Russia. Mueller's on it. Other people looking at it. It's a totally other issue. This issue we're dealing with, did government agencies of the previous administration orchestrate a attempted frame-up against Trump and Trump associates in the campaign after exonerating Hillary? That is the narrative that they need to get out there and get in people's minds. It will totally change the nature of the game, and will change totally the defense that Rodentstein and Ray can use when deciding not to give up documents. Because once you change the narrative to, hey, we're investigating you, your agencies, for these things, then all that becomes very important evidence that you have to have. You have to have the evidence on these informants. You have to tell us about these informants. Because after all, they weren't just informants. They were agent provocateurs put into the campaign from the outside by government agencies to entrap members of the Trump campaign, to use that information to take down Trump. That's what it was all about. Probably was what the insurance policy was. We just have to try to keep from exploding as we go down this road, which is quite frustrating. But that's my general take on what happened today. Let's move on to a couple other fun items, because it is Fun Friday. Well, they did a poll, a poll amongst Democrats, polling Democrats. The top 3 Democrats that Democrats want to run against Trump in 2020 are, dun, da, 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 number 1, Joe Biden. That is funny. Joe Biden. Please let Joe Biden be the Democratic nominee in 2020. That would be hilarious. Now that would be fun. Trump versus Biden. Oh my goodness, that would be a lot of laughs. A barrel of monkeys. Now, the next would be number 2, the Rotten Reverend. Do you remember about a year ago, if you watched my videos a year ago, I said, I know how the Clintons operate. The Rotten Reverend Clinton, she ain't done in her mind. Oh no, the Rotten Reverend Clinton thinks she's coming back in 2020. That's why she's not going away. She's not going to go away because she wants to try to stay relevant. She'll be out there every day until about 2019, as we end 2018 and go into 2019, when potential candidates start coming out, start filing, doing their filings. What the Rotten Reverend Clinton's doing right now is laying the groundwork for a AstroTurf plan for a draft Hillary campaign. She's going to sit back and say, no, I'm done. Like I said, that was my last election. I just want to go out and help advance the cause. I don't want to do this again. I don't want to run again. Blah 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 blah. But there's millions of people out there who are telling me, Hillary, you got to run. Hillary, you got to do it. So I don't want to do this, but my grassroots support across the country, and you can see that I'm, number 1 or number 2 in the polls of who Democrats want. So even though I don't want to run, it's this draft Hillary movement. They're drafting me. How can I say no? And this will all be completely orchestrated by the Rotten Reverend and her minions. She's orchestrating her own AstroTurf campaign to draft Hillary. Draft Hillary in 2020. That's what she's trying to do. It's not going to work out, believe me. She's got a lot of problems, health problems. She might be in jail by 2020. She might be in jail by 2020. Well, Trump says that his Supreme Court justice pick is going to happen very quickly. Yes, and it should. He's got his list of 25. It's the same list he had when he was campaigning for president. Gorsuch came from that list. It dropped 5 names. He added 5 names, and every single one on that list is a pretty strong conservative, which is wonderful because a lot of people are suggesting to Trump that, well, we don't want a real big fight before the election. Kennedy was kind of a slightly center-right guy. You should try to go not for a real hardcore conservative constitutionalist, originalist. No, you should go for kind of a middle-of-the-road Republican type conservative light. No, this is not what you do, and Trump's not going to do that. I promise you, Trump's not going to do that. And he wants the fight. He wants the fight. He wants to find the most conservative he can possibly get. He knows he'll get no Democrat votes, although Gorsuch got 3 Democrat votes in the Senate because there might be a couple senators in some purple states that don't want to get thrown out, who are forced to step across the aisle and support him. So he might find those 2 or 3 other senators in that same situation. I have no problem because McConnell is going to hold the vote before the elections. I think he'll probably have it done by Thanksgiving. I think that'll be Trump's Christmas present, a new Supreme Court justice. And let's get something perfectly clear here. There's not a damn thing that the Democrats can do to stop it, because McConnell is going to waive the filibuster rule. He only needs 51 votes. It's an election year. You've got 3 or 4 senators, Democratic senators, who can't afford or don't want to be thrown out, and they can't afford to vote against a solid Supreme Court justice pick, even if he is a conservative or originalist or whatever. And the fact of the matter is, it actually helps Trump a lot, because if he nominates a real conservative like a Gorsuch or a Scalia or someone like that, it's going to cause the Democrats to become even more unhinged and will expose them as even more wacko than people ever believe they already are. I mean, they'll just continue to expose them. So it will only get under their skin even more and expose them even more. I think Trump understands this. And that's why I think Trump is going to pick very quickly. He's going to pick a pretty conservative judge to take Kennedy's place. He will get him confirmed, and there's not a damn thing the Democrats can do to stop it. Despite all the crying and whining, nothing they can do. They don't have the votes. And there's a reason why they don't have the votes. About a week and a half ago, when we learned that Peter has been stroking us will be testifying in front of Congress, I said it will be a waste of time. I said that he's only going to talk about and admit to the things that are in the IG report. When he's asked about the text, he's going to say that was just personal stuff between me and my girlfriend, and it didn't affect my professional position at the FBI, and anything else that he was not going to comment on it, because he was going to say it's part of an ongoing investigation. And what happened? Well, exactly what I said. Exactly what I said. Waste of time. Put him in front of a grand jury. Hollywood is now saying that they are going to fight against Trump's SCOTUS pick. And some of them even say, yes, this could end in civil war. You're going to start a civil war in the country over the president doing his elected duty, naming a Supreme Court justice? Not a good idea, Democrats. And that civil war you're talking about, you'll lose, and you'll lose bad. We got all the guns. You don't have any. We know how to use them. You don't. We will use them. You couldn't. We have the military, the cops. We have everybody on our side. Do you really want to have a civil war with us, Hollywood? I don't think so. Nope. I wouldn't go down that road if I were you. You Hollywood idiots need to understand one thing very, very clearly. You don't have the votes to stop anything. Trump's going to get a very conservative judge. He's going to get the votes in the House. Well, we don't need votes in the House. Only the Senate has to confirm. They will get the votes in the Senate to confirm the judge. McConnell will waive the filibuster rule, and it will happen before the 2018 elections, Hollywood. So, enjoy your new conservative Supreme Court justice coming to you soon. Nothing you can do to stop it, Hollywood, so screw you. Uh-oh. It appears that a top campaign worker, a worker who was one of the top campaign aides for one of the presidential campaigns in 2016, has been charged with sexual violence, possessing child porn, and trying to have sex with a 2-year-old? What a sick... My God. Well, let me ask you out there in YouTube land, which campaign do you think that this pervert, this pedophile was associated with? Whose campaign do you think this individual, this campaign worker, was working for? Sexual violence, child porn, trying to have sex with a 2-year-old. Whose campaign do you think he was working for? If you're thinking the rotten Reverend Clinton, you would be right. We also have someone inside the DOJ who's been whispering a little bit into the ear of a reporter over at the Gateway Pundit, and this person is telling Gateway Pundit that they should get the text and emails of people up in the DOJ, especially Rodentstein, because they say what they would find is alarming, far worse than anything that you'd hear from Strzok and Page, as far as what they say about members of Congress, particularly the Republicans who are trying to get to the bottom of the coup. In fact, Rodentstein, apparently according to this person, Rodentstein is referred to Jim Jordan and some of the other Republicans trying to get the truth as being pieces of shit. Rodentstein thinks that they're all pieces of shit. He thinks the same of all of us as well, I am sure. So, they need to get the DOJ texts and emails, and we can find out exactly what these people are into. That's exactly what we should be doing. That's why we need a special counsel. We need to get Rodentsteins and Rays and the rest of all those guys. We need to get their texts and emails. Imagine what we would learn. Trump's approval with Hispanics is up 10 points. His approval doubled amongst blacks. Now it's up 10 points with Hispanics. Winning! Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye.